Please give a warm Georgia Tech welcome to Mr. Amesquita.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Good enough. Okay. Thank you for coming. I see a lot of people. Feel free to move closer if you want. Again, I always say, this is not a church. You can come to the front lines. That's okay. But whatever you prefer. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm going to spend, a few minutes. I'm going to talk probably about three things. I'm going to give you a little bit of something about me and my key inflection points in my career. I will talk a little bit about the Hershey Company, and we'll talk a little bit about the importance of analytics. Okay. So with that in mind, the first part, I have to make things very brief, because I want to engage in questions and answers. That's, I think, the most important part. But when I was thinking of my talk, I was thinking on how do I get it compressed in a way that it's meaningful enough, but still is not too verbose, is not too long. And reminded me of Mr. Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, one of the greatest prime ministers from England, and also a gifted speaker. And one day, after one of his glorious speeches, somebody came and asked him, "Mr. Churchill, you did such a wonderful job. How long does it take you to prepare for your speeches?" And he answered, "Well, it depends." "It depends?" "Yes, it depends. It depends on the length. You want 5 minutes? Give me 2 weeks to prepare. You want 2 hours? I can start right now." So it kind of resonated to me, because it was, I had to condense things. So what I'm going to talk is something that my friends, and even myself, they all call me that I had luck in life, good luck. And I do believe I had good luck. I can't complain. However, if I look inside or behind luck, I see some other things. So luck is the way to say it, but it's about some other things as well. And I call it luck, a story of odds, opportunities, and preparedness. And I will illustrate that in the next few minutes. So my first call inflection point or moment of truth, if you will, was when I graduated from Georgia Tech. So I was like many others here, but I was a foreign student. And my major was finance. I was even thinking of doing a PhD in finance at that time. I stopped short. I had some experience with OR as well, some simulation and things like that suited me well for some work I wanted to do in evaluating long-term investments and doing simulations or recalling bonds and callable bonds and all those kind of things. So I applied to jobs. And guess what? I got invited to interviews. I said, fantastic. Whoa, way to go. They like me. So I went to the interviews, and after a few times, I realized that I never got to the offer, to closing the offer. And the reason was because I was a foreign student, and I was very transparent. At the end, I would disclose, I'm a foreign student, and I need some sponsorship from you so I can, get my working visa, but no problem, I will do it. You just need to be the sponsor, that's all. This scared the heck out of the employers. They run out like crazy away from me, and said, oh, this is really bad. So what do? I really wanted to stay in the US, and I didn't know what to do. So the first thing I did is I looked at myself, I said, I have a resume, I have background in engineering, why don't I exploit that as well? So I started writing to companies. Depending on the company, with emphasis on the engineering background or in the MBA and the finance, background, doing both. So guess what? A local company, Norfolk Southern, called me. I said, wow, good. So we went through the interviews, and at the end, they offered me a job, but they said, we want to offer you to start in IT. And that, I said, IT? I said I was an engineer, and I said I had an MBA, but why IT? He said, well, you've been in engineering, you've programmed before. Yeah, I had 2 classes in programming, 2. That doesn't make me a systems developer or a systems analyst or anything like that. And the HR guy looked at me and said, don't worry, we'll teach you. So I said, fantastic. So that's how I started, and I got the job in IT. Not long after, got a phone call. P&G called me. I had applied to them when they came to tech, and they're slow. There's a large company. Your resume goes God knows what routes, and eventually they called me. And they were interested in my finance, formation. So they great. So we interviews, talked to a bunch of people, finance, went to Cincinnati, the headquarters, talked to them, and then got a call to meet with the VP of finance who was coming from Mexico, was going to Miami, and then was going somewhere else. So I met the person in the Miami airport. And he came and said, I have good news and not so good news. What do you want to hear first? I said, obviously the good news. So I want to offer you a job in P&G. The not so good news is it won't be in the US to start. I want you to come back to Peru, and I want you to start in IT. I said, oh, wow, again, here we go again. I thought about it and what it meant. It meant I was going to give up the job I had here, my dream of staying in the US, but going to work for P&G. And I took the offer. And you would ask me, why did I do it? Are you crazy, out of your mind? What is it? Is because it gave me 2 things. A path to 2 different careers, finance and IT. Because the guy in finance, the VP, told me, I want you to start in IT, but will be for a year, maybe a year and a half. As soon as we have a suitable opening, we put you back into financial analysis or financial forecasting where I want you to be. I said, great. So I have 2 paths. Actually, they did offer me that 3 times. I declined the 3 times. Okay, but that's a different story. It gave me that broader horizon, and they also said that I could come back to the US. I could pursue an international career after 5 or 6 years working in Peru if I was among the top 2 in the company at my level, because they offered those opportunities for the very, very top people. I said, okay, that's fair. You give me the opportunity, I'll earn it. That's on me. So I took the opportunity. That's the first inflection point. I could have stayed in the US, and I didn't. The second one was after 6 years in P&G in Peru, I was the head of IT for the company there. Very quickly, very fast, and they offered me, obviously, as expected, to go out, to leave the country. And they offered me the US, not to go subsidiary, come to the headquarters, which was good. I said, wow, it's coming, the way I thought it was going to come. That's great. When I looked into the offer and the transfer guide, they gave me a big binder with all the things I had to look into. I was going to move into an entry-level position. Entry-level position as a broadening assignment in business analysis, working with marketing, in the hair care category. So I said, that has nothing to do with what I have learned so far, what I've done so far, but should I take it or not? On top of that, they told me, by the way, you know that you won't be able to come back to your country, to Peru, because you reach the top of your job here, and you don't move people laterally, you move to going up. So I thought about it. I said, yeah, probably I will not return with P&G, but I can always return to my country. So that took some of the angst of me, myself, because I knew I can always come back. I'll be with another company, never say no. So I took the opportunity, came to the US, and the first thing I learned in the US is, okay, shampoos, yeah, I know that. Talking about 1992, okay, conditioners, yeah, my sister uses those, I kind of know it, well, stay-in gels, serums, sprays, what? Moose. I said, moose? That's a big animal that lives in Canada and has huge antlers. I said, no, it's a product called Moose. It's a foam, and I had to learn the category. I had to learn the business. I had no clue. So I started learning that. I eventually got up to speed. They gave me the management responsibility for the entire beauty care analytics, then US beauty care, then US beauty care and healthcare. It's a large group of analysts, and everything going fine and dandy. And then I get a call, a new person in head of Latin America IT, an expat from Europe, had just gotten there and wanted to beef up his team and wanted me back to Latin America. At the same time, the CIO of P&G was offering me, do you want to stay in the US? I can localize you here. We can work for your green card. And I said, oops, what do I do? Once again, I said, no, I go to Latin America. He said, you must be crazy. You wanted from day one to stay here. You already rejected twice. How many more chances are you going to have? So I took the risk, and I said, I'm going to go to Latin America, because the pace of development in the mid-90s of Latin America was very fast. The opportunities were tremendous. And I said, I'll take it. I thought I was going to do analytics for Latin America. But guess what? As fate has it, they told me, no, you are going to do SAP. SAP R3 had just come out to the market. I want you to figure out what SAP R3 is, and I want you to make a plan to replace all the legacy systems in 9 countries, 15 plants, 30 distribution centers. Make a plan, tell me how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, and execute the plan. So I was shocked for about 2 weeks. I didn't know what to say. I said, and I didn't know what SAP was. So I had no experience how long it would take. So I got some advice from people. I had no team. I was the only person in that. I had to recruit a team and get people to work for me if this was going to be a project. So I dreamt up a plan. What can you do? Use your judgment, read things, call people, and put things pen to paper and write a plan. Write a 3-page recommendation that goes to the president of Latin America and said, it's going to take me 3.5 years. It's going to cost me so much. It's going to do first the core financial systems. We'll follow up with order to cash, and last will be the MRP supply chain plant systems. That's the order. And you tell me, how do you get to that conclusion? I say, I don't know. Okay. But one thing I can tell you, if I said the first day, I have no clue how to do this, I'll be out of a job immediately. If I make a plan and say it's going to take 3.5 years, I have 3.5 years of work, until they figure out that I cannot do it. But at least, 42 months of a paycheck is better than 0 months. So I did it, and surprisingly, I delivered the project with a team that I had nobody, to a team that was like about 70 people, cross-functional, finance, supply chain, sales, IT. We did it in 39 months, those less than 3.5 years. It was so well received, went so well, became the foundation for P&G's future implementations of SAP R3 around the world. Became the template. So it worked well. It led me to a promotion. I got to replace my boss, be the IT leader for all of Latin America. First Latin American that got that position. Before it was either Europeans or Americans. So we're very proud of that. And it came out of this project that I had no clue how to do. And which led me then to come back to the US, which then led me to my localization in the US. I had reached a level that they said, you know, you're not going to go back to Latin America. You already had that job. And then, so that's how things worked out. And so that was the third moment of inflection, is when I came from the US back to Latin America. You know, the last moment happened when I got this phone call. I got this phone call from a headhunter asking if I wanted to be part of a selection process for the CIO job at Hershey's. To be honest, I was in a very comfortable position, extremely comfortable. I had the largest business unit. I worked with the group president for reporting to her. I had relationships built all the way to CEO and everybody in their leadership team. They know me by name. I had personal friendships with many of them. Was no issue of compensation. Was no issue of, you know, and I was doing good stuff. But when I started talking to the recruiter, I found out that my passion, my fire had flamed out over the years. I was in a comfort zone, gliding, no longer stretching, no longer challenging myself to do more, to think bigger. Okay? And it took a call and the description of the job to finally, my juices, the adrenaline start building, and then you see, wow, I'm missing all of this. So I don't know if you know the story of the boiled frog, right? The boiled frog is you put the pan of boiling water, throw the frog is not stupid, jumps out immediately because it's too hot to be in there. But if you get a pan with water at room temperature, put the frog nicely in there, turn the heat a little bit high, and after a while you get the boiled frog. Well, guess what? I was the boiled frog. I was boiled and I had not realized it. You know, I lost my passion. So that's when I decided to go, I went to the Hershey Company. Never looked back. Never looked back. So the morale of the story here is my luck was shaped by, number one, expanding your odds. Okay, this is like chances, like playing roulette, like playing, you know, the more numbers you bid, the higher your chances, your probabilities are. So expand your odds. Number two is you don't control the opportunities. They will come when they come. Normally, people will say, you get an opportunity, say, oh, if it was only a year later because my wife or my child or my friend or whatever, you always have a but. Or you say, well, if it was last year, now I can't because of this and that. You know, you have to be prepared. You have to be ready for the opportunities, because the opportunities will come always at times that you would say it's not the right time. That's the way it is. Okay? And last is preparedness. You need to be prepared, ready. You know, I've been preparing for a CIO role all my life. And I forgot that I was training for that until the headhunter called. I should have kept that top of mind, but I lost that. And my boiled frog, comparison, I had lost that edge. So always be prepared, because things will come to you. So that's my personal background, a little bit to illustrate where I come from. The second part I want to talk is about the Hershey Company. And the Hershey Company is one of the oldest companies still going around in the US. Maybe not as old as P&G, but pretty old, over 100 years old, founded by, similar to P&G, one very strong-willed individual, visionary, Milton Hershey. And Mr. Hershey was a visionary. So he grew in central Pennsylvania. He worked very hard on the fields. He didn't have a university, education, degree, anything like that. But he was a true visionary. And he went to England to learn candy business. He came back. He invested on learning and understanding before he embarked in the journey of making chocolates. So he started the company. Now, the company, I don't know if many of you know this story, but the company is owned, 30% of the company is owned by a trust. So there's a trust on top. There's the Hershey Company. 30% of the shares, it's a public company, but 30% of the shares are owned by the trust. There's a school, I will talk about, and there's the Hershey Entertainment, the hotels, the things like that. Okay, 3 legs. The trust was created because Milton Hershey gave his entire fortune, not when he died, when in the middle of his forming the company, in 1910 or 15, I don't remember the year exactly, he gave his entire fortune to this trust to fund a school for orphans. So the Milton Hershey School in Pennsylvania is one school with 2,000 underprivileged kids from all walks of life, rural, urban, diverse, Latinos, African Americans, everything, And they come to the school, and they have foster parents. And the foster parents have a home, and the campus is about 8 to 10 kids per foster home with the foster parents, which includes the kids of the foster parents. So they live with them throughout their 12 years of education. And when they take vacations, because they're allowed to go once a month, take a whole weekend off, you have another set of foster parents that come, but they're always the same. So they're either them or this. There's nothing, so you have continuity. You get food, you get clothes, you get education, and at the end they also train you on a trade. On whether you do carpentry, but it's not to go to college, but they want to prepare you in something else. And then for the people who are the best students who can aspire and want to go to college, they will offer scholarships as well. Okay, so when you walk the school today, you will see in the hallways big paintings, lots of big guys, corporate guys. And all the successful alumni from the school that reached the highest in the profession. You see CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, you see government people. Hershey, I think, had 2 CEOs coming from the school. Actually, Mike was reminding me, my colleague here, about the Seattle player, Gary Gilliam, who, played in Super Bowl. And Gary is a graduate he went to Penn State, finished his career, then went to the NFL, and played in a Super Bowl game. He is a graduate from from Milton Hershey School. Okay, so those type of examples, you see it. So that's one element. Then we have a lot of corporate social responsibility programs. In Hershey, we have this cocoa, initiative with the farmers in Ghana. We buy our cocoa beans from Ghana and Ivory Coast most of the time. And these are small farms that join forces and sell their product. But they don't know much. Their kids don't know. We brought people from Ghana coming to Hershey, never had a chocolate bar, but they produce cocoa. So we produce videos and training, one called from bean to bar, for their kids to understand what happens to their crops, and how it ends up in the product. So education. We gave them phones, the flip phones that nobody was using. We gave them the phones so they can talk to each other. Farmers can talk to each other. They live in small parcels, but they want to talk to each other. They want to check their prices, the market prices for cocoa beans, and we gave them that. We linked also those children with the Milton Hershey School. So there's a lot of social responsibility with the farm producers, and there's also ideas on how we, especially with kids, how we nourish minds, how we treat nutrition. And we have goals, lofty goals, by 2020 to have 1 million kids, out of, with nutrition, full nutrition, sponsored by Hershey. So that's on the social responsibility. So we're not a large company. We are, relatively small for the standards of corporations nowadays. It's about $7.5 billion, mostly in the US, but we do business in China, we do business in India, we have plants, we do business in Malaysia, Brazil, Mexico, Singapore, India. So we're growing internationally, and there's a lot more to be done, but we're mainly a US company at this point. That's where the majority of the sales come from. We are the leading manufacturers of chocolate in the US. And I thought there was a question, I'm sorry. And we are, very proud of the opportunity that we have in front of us, right? But what has driven, what was the factor that has driven Hershey to where Hershey is today? Aside from this last year, we had mediocre growth. We grew, but not to our aspirations, to our internal goals. Still grew 3%. And the previous 5 years, we were the #1 CPG company, consumer product good company, in growth. And not only in the food industry, not only against Mondelez or Kraft's or anything like that, but I'm comparing with Kimberly-Clark, with Colgate, with P&G. We've been by far ahead of them. And what is it? What is it that makes us so unique? Why can we aspire to be better than others? And it's all about data, analytics, and insights. Our CEO says that, he publicly said, at the meeting, I think it was at the Grocery Manufacturers Association, he said, Hershey is a knowledge company. We just happen to make chocolates. That's a profound statement because it means that we know more about our consumers, our shoppers, our customers and retailers, about the categories we compete, about the markets, than anybody else. And we can derive insights that others don't have that gives us the edge to grow at the levels that we're growing and that we want to grow. So there's a strong culture, data-based culture, and there's a strong aspiration to become even better. So let me give you an example. Last year, or a year and a half ago, when I just joined, there was a question about, we participate in gum categories as well, right? So we have chewing gum. And the gum category had declined 2013, I think was, significantly. The category, not us, not somebody else, is the entire category. There was less consumption of gum that particular year than any of the previous years. I said, why? Well, we knew that there's a correlation between smoking and gum chewing. And smoking has been on the decrease, but that was factored into the projections. Okay, because that's a straight line. You know how it's declining. And you can kind of predict what's going to look like. So, but it was much deeper than that. So we didn't know what it was. So guess what? The answer resulted to be is e-cigarettes. With the advent of e-cigarettes, there was a huge spike on e-cigarette consumption, so people dropping from cigarettes to e-cigarettes. But e-cigarette is still considered smoking, but it's not the cigarette. It's an e-cigarette. And e-cigarette people don't need to chew gum as the people who smoke regular cigarettes. Okay? So that sounds very simple. But to get to that conclusion, you have to link data sets that you don't link together. That it's completely, so that's why the importance of getting more sources of data, bringing them together, integrating, harmonizing, linking them, to be able to run hypotheses and see if they hold, run correlations. But then you have to figure out if the correlation really is causation or is just a correlation that has no reason with causation. So analytics is very important, and the platforms to do analytics are very important to us. It's about analytics, the data and tools, right? So the sources of data and the tools that you will provide the analyst to be able to drive to quick conclusions rather than spending hours and hours trying to bring data together on a server and integrate, show them a path to do that very easy. And it has to do with skills and people. We're hiring more than ever data scientists. So computer science is a given. You hire some of that, but you need to hire data scientists as well, and you need to make them work together. Okay. We are also hiring PhDs. Normally, companies don't get PhDs unless you're going to go into R&D. We are hiring some PhDs, econometrics, in modeling, simulation, precisely to advance the science of analytics, to derive even deeper insights. Because we know that data will become commodity. What's going to differentiate one company from another is the ability to drive and derive insights from that data that can inform decision making. So that's what I had for you today, from personal Hershey analytics standpoint, and I want to open it up for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Yep, there's Bhagarab right there.
So my question was, my question was regarding your point when you said that Hershey's is expanding to newer markets, and I know that for emerging markets especially, it might be a little bit harder to get all the data. So how do you account for this idea that you might not have all the data that you need for emerging markets? And especially as a CIO, how do you handle setting up different IT solutions in different parts of the world, because not all countries are as advanced as the United States in some aspects?
That's a good question. So when you expand into a new market, into white space, you don't start with analytics. You start with the very fundamentals, the very basics, from brand building, to manufacturing the products, to having the right price points. So your analytics are very rudimentary, because you want to do price elasticities, but it's not what you do in the US. So it's an evolution, and we expect that data is going to be evolving as well in those markets as they grow and become less emergent, more developed, right? And to be quite honest, today there's no deficiency of data, because you can find proxies, with internet, with social media, with sensors, with everything is captured somewhere. It may not be in the form and shape you want, and how you do it here and validate it with statistical methods like Nielsen would do, but there's no shortage of data to get started with. The second question was, you said about solutions, how you go for solutions for emerging markets. In the past, we've been very much one size fits all. Okay, which I think is absolutely the wrong approach. But it's no different from some years ago. Companies produced one good, one size, and they expect that fits everybody. And then suddenly you see somebody who comes with a bright idea. Let's split this. Let's do this that way. Let's offer more, for high-end consumers, for low-end consumers, for the middle, for millennials, for, you have all kinds of segmentation. In IT, I believe there's 2 or 3 segments that we need to serve, right? Is the developed markets, is the developing markets that will become developed, and there's some small niche that will never be big, but you need to serve them as well. Okay, so what is the cost-effective solution that you have for that? And we address that. We're looking into, when we talk about SAP, SAP is one mega solution, and everybody will be taxed with the cost of that and the processes of doing. Well, we're going to segment that in a different way. We're going to have some processes for developing markets that may be simpler than processes that are used by developed markets. And we need to reflect those differences, because you cannot force a developing market to use things beyond their needs, because it will suck their time, will cost them more, and at the end, sales suffer. Yes.
Yeah. So you talked about the importance of being able to analyze data that sometimes seem they're seemingly unrelated. You talked about your example with the e-cig and the gum consumption. So what would you say, we as students right now, what can we do to, in terms of training ourselves in terms of skills, or what kind of resources we should look at? How can we train ourselves to be better thinkers in terms of what you said, able to see connections that are not so apparent sometimes?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think some people are inductive, some people are deductive thinkers. We have to be something in the middle. It's more maybe an abductive thinker, which is, you need to reach both ends and you look at things from different viewpoints. And it has to do a little bit with curiosity and imagination. You have to be curious to look at things and don't take the answers you get as the only answer. There may be others that may be better, but you have to look at different ways. So there's no formal training, because it's trial and error. Some people are better than others, but it has to do with how you approach the problem. Some people will come with an approach of, I know it, I know what to do, and the best thing is to be humble, to start and say, I don't know what I don't know, and I will discover, and then you start validating, and ask. But it's a trial and error. One thing I look for students, I look in students is, people ask me, what majors are you hiring? So I like people who have science and technology backgrounds. I don't necessarily want comp science people. I don't, could be engineering, could be math, could be economics, could be, any math, could be any science, hard science. And why? Is because it gives you a strong analytical background. You are able to break down problems in pieces. You're able to analyze. You're able to resolve. But I don't hire for what you know. I hire for your ability to learn. Because what you learn today, you will learn very quickly that in 5 years, 8 years, is obsolete. You have to relearn. You have to reinvent yourself. And the importance of being a learning organism all the time. And that's what I look for. So for your question is, you have to learn. There's no silver bullet.
All right, Carlos, I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm going to build up on the first question that was about developing countries and developing markets for Hershey's. So China in particular, Hershey's has had some issues establishing a footprint, and I read up on it, and you guys decided to acquire Golden Monkey. And to what extent do you think you'll be using Golden Monkey's analytics or Golden Monkey's insights in the market as compared to what Hershey's has already done, research or people on the ground? And what extent do you think the two will come together, and how do you plan to get that in place?
Well, there's no question that they're coming together. So there's no longer, Golden Monkey and Hershey's is one company, right? That's where we're integrating. But remember that the acquisition was a complete complementary space for Hershey. So they didn't do chocolates, they did Chinese sweets. It's different, okay? They didn't go through modern retail. They didn't go through Walmarts in China or the big stores, you know. No, they went to the small little stores via 1,500 distributors. They didn't do business in big cities, not Shanghai, not Guangzhou, not any of the large cities. They were not there. They were in the provinces, the small ones, inland. Okay, so very complementary. On the other hand, their capabilities were very rudimentary. So this was a company from an entrepreneur. So they sell, they muscle through, they make the connections with people, with store owners or the distributors, and they push. And very different model. You know, it's very, very different. So now what we're doing is we're trying to preserve the best of what we acquired, which is the network of distributors. So we can sell our chocolate through that network to markets that we were not able to reach. You know, we are also so we have much broader coverage, and we're trying to bring some of their products, Golden Monkey, and use our distribution to the big customers, the big retailers, the Walmarts of the world. You know, to see that product then that it wasn't present there before. Okay, but there's no analytics for us to learn from them because they didn't have it. Yes.
So again, with the emerging markets, I'm wondering how much research Hershey does into the cultural aspects of a market they're looking to get into. Like Coca-Cola, for example, has products in Africa and Asia that are specific to those markets. Does Hershey do something similar, or is the Hershey bar you get in Southeast Asia the same as the one in the U.S.?
Well, we do tailor a little bit to local markets. We are not Coca-Cola. Okay, Coca-Cola is a powerhouse, especially on international. You can see by their sales. You know, same would be with Pepsi or the P&Gs of the world. We are much newer than them in international markets. However, you know, you look at here, you know, the other side of the border, go to Mexico. You know, Hershey, Mexico has some Hershey products, but has some products that are very specific to Mexico. There's a product called Pelón Pelo Rico. Okay, it's a little candy that comes and it's a little gel that comes out, and you can suck that gel, and it's a big hit to the point that every single competitor has copied that with a different name, you know, and it's spicy, has chili. Okay, you wouldn't like it, I don't like it. Okay, to be honest, but Mexicans love it. So there you have an example of something that's very relative to the culture of Mexico with the chili, for example. You know? Now, could we have more? Yes. You know, could we have more? I don't know. I'm thinking of European type of chocolate in the U.S. Yes. Now, would people like it? A lot of Americans don't, but there is some that love it. So can we differentiate? Can we have different tiers of products? Certainly we can. We have a lot to learn. No, we're not there yet.
Question down here.
So you spoke on a level of social responsibility displayed by the Hershey Company, specifically through the Milton Hershey School. How did that play a role in you selecting the Hershey Company as a place you wanted to work, and how does it affect how you identify with the company?
How I select that to be
Play a part in your selection of the company, and how does it play a role in how you identify?
Oh, for me, when I came to the company?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when I was recruited and I was interviewing, I spent a day in Hershey, and part of that was to see the school, because they took me there. And I was flabbergasted by what I saw. I was incredibly shocked and very proud of what they were doing, and it, to some degree, influenced probably not the final decision, but it took my excitement to another level. I know there are people here in my team that go mentor kids, go teach, and not classes, but give lectures and work with students of the school. You know, we do all those kind of things. And it's very satisfying because you see the outcome almost immediately. As you go there throughout the year, you see the outcome of your influence in those kids. You know, so I have no words to express that. I wish we could do more schools, but we can't. The trust bound us to do one school, not more than 2,000 students. And that's what Mr. Milton Hershey wanted. He said he wanted not quantity, he wanted quality. He wanted to keep focus on one school and not larger than this size. And 30% of our stock is in the hands of the trust, and the dividends itself pays for the operating budget of the school and more. But we cannot use the excess to fund the second school. I wish we could, but we can't. You know, it's a great model. It's a fantastic. I haven't seen that anywhere else.
Carlos, one more question.
Yes.
Could you discuss how you collect all of your data? Do the Walmarts of the world provide you with information about like who specifically purchased a Hershey bar and when they purchased it, like what store they purchased it in, and what else they might have purchased as well, so that you can gain that information and insight?
It depends with the retailer, right? We have agreements with customers for sharing of data. You know, in the case of Walmart, we have the category captaincy, you know, in their categories. Yeah. So because of that, we can get, when you have the category captaincy, they give you your data, means who bought your product, where, and you know, they give you all of that from their stores, but they give you competitor data as well. Why? Because we produce the planograms for them. We do the work for them. Based on sales, we decide what's the best assortment that Walmart can have in the confection aisle with all manufacturers, right? So that's insights, that's analytics, and we have that privilege given by Walmart to us. And in the case of confection, very unlike, you know, my old company, detergents, or, you know, when you own the front end as well, and they give you the front end, they not only give you, or they give you the seasonal aisle, they not only give you your category and competitors, they give you everything else. So I know about magazines or batteries in the checkouts, you know, and I can make a case, you know, you're not making enough money with magazines, nobody's buying magazines, you should have there more chocolates. You know, and we make very, very, you know, data-centric decisions. So try to be very fair. If it's batteries, then we say you need to put a few more facings of batteries because you make a lot of money on batteries. So it's not only about our products. And then you become a trusted advisor. That's not self-serving, but is working better to grow their sales and your sales.
Carlos, we have 2 more questions.
Sure.
Thank you for the interesting presentation. And I just wonder whether the Hershey Company using the phonetic analytics, such as speech code analytics, because this is one of the very important customer engagement optimization. So wonder you're using phonetic.
To be quite honest, we haven't done anything in that area. Okay. Now, we do have connections with startups, Silicon Valley. We are part of IPP in Silicon Valley. We're part of some of the accelerators, Alchemist, and you know, a few others. And we go and see companies, you know, because we always want to know what's coming, you know. But we haven't done enough on speech recognition, and we should, you know, we should.
Carlos, I'm going to sneak in one question before I hand it off to Terry. And the question I have, talking about your inflection points in your life, and clearly taking a risk is part of what has allowed you to be open to those opportunities and be successful. And Sheryl Sandberg, who's COO of Facebook, talks about one of the biggest business decisions that one can make is selecting a partner or a spouse. And the question I have for you is, how has your friends and your family enabled you to take these opportunities, take these big risks to help you be successful?
That's a great question, and I think we need another hour to explain it in more depth because my story is longer than what you think. But anyway, what I can tell you in a short time frame is when I left Peru for the first time, after I came back from Georgia Tech, and I left, and they told me, you're leaving for good. You realize you're not coming back. And I said, no, yes, I'm coming back with another company if I want to. I know I'm not coming back with P&G. I said, okay, you get it. So when I talked to my wife, she also heard the thing, you're not coming back. And that freaked her out, okay? So what I said is, you create fear when you put, some objectives that are so far out that you can't see your path towards it, okay? So I said, bring the horizon forward. I said, let's make decisions every year. So we go out, we go with P&G, and after 1 year, we'll review the decision and see if it still holds for us. Next year, following year, we'll do the same thing. Take it 1 year at a time. And that took a lot of the stress out.
Thank you. Last question.
My question is, I just got onto your website, the HersheyCompany.com. If you all haven't looked at it, you should, because it's a fabulous site. But what it told me is not only how you define good business practices that are the basis for a better world, I also see a big emphasis on the triple bottom line. And I've always known that Hershey was coterminous with social responsibility, but I'm quite surprised to see the depth of your environmental responsibility. How did that all come about, and how?
Well, that's also a great question. We have a CEO who's very passionate about this. Okay, he's been CEO for the last 5 years or so, 6 years maybe, and he's brought the change to this and to bring this to the forefront. He's now the president for the GMA, the Grocery Manufacturers Association of America, which every CPG company is part of, including big guys like P&G, and who's the president? Is the guy from Hershey, because he has a passion for it. So what has been his first initiative? It's been about food transparency. And what is it? He calls it in Hershey's simple ingredients. It's reduce the number of ingredients in every one of our products to their simple ones. Eliminate all the chemicals, go back to the basics, transparency, and provide that in a QR code in every product that you can check with your phone. We'll take you to the website, we'll tell you everything about those ingredients, where they come from and all that. So that food transparency initiative is leading it for the GMA. The GMA now is taking this as the GMA mandate for all the others, okay? But Hershey created it, okay? So now I'm working with Colgate, for instance. We had a meeting with the CIO, and I offered him, I'll give you the source code for this. Why? Because it's good for everybody. So you can put that source code in the products that are relevant for this, and because we're starting to cooperate, and he shares information, I'll share information, we're not competes, so why not? But it makes this better, and the more companies you have coming to this, the better for all the consumers. Is the CEO. It's driven from the very, very top.
Thank you very much, Carlos, for coming today.
Thank you.